glitch. So tech ops team, just to make sure that we're recording, please.
We are recording.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the continuation of our National AA Technology Virtual Gathering 2020 on Saturday, September the 12th. My name is Carolyn and I am an alcoholic. Let's start with a moment of silence to be used as you wish. Thank you. In keeping with our 11th tradition, we respectfully ask that AA speakers and AA members not be photographed, videotaped, or identified by full name on audio tapes or in any published or broadcast reports of our meetings, including those reports on the internet or other news media technologies. The assurance of anonymity is essential in our efforts to help other problem drinkers who may wish to share our recovery program with us. Our tradition of anonymity also reminds us that AA principles come before personalities. All session audio and screen share content is being recorded. NAATW will not publish anyone's last name or face. If you hear a last name, please let us know so we can scrub it in post-processing. We've set up a virtual hospitality suite in a separate Zoom room and a Slack channel for participant communication. We've also created a Google Doc for crowdsourced notes. If you have a question, please submit it using the form we've created. It is organized by session name and gives you the opportunity to choose the person it is intended for. We'll read as many questions as we can during any free time between the presentation and the end of the session. To make sure we stay on schedule, we'll finish a few minutes before the end of the time slot to allow the next presenter to get ready. Hosts, co-hosts, and presenters are listed in Zoom with a hashtag in front of their name, so they will appear at the top of the participants list. Links to all the things I've just mentioned will be pasted in the chat and are also available at naatw.org/2020-links. Participants will be muted during the presentation, and chat between participants will be turned off. You can chat to the hosts, and if you need specific help, look for hashtag help for our help anchors, which are Daniel and Joel. Participants are invited to share their video and display virtual backgrounds. If video is not shared in a respectful manner, it will be disabled. It is my pleasure to announce our final panel of the day. And on this panel, we have a collection of folks from GSO and Grapevine. I'll list out their names. I'm not sure their exact order of presentation, but we have with us Lorna G., Director of Technology Services, Clement C., Senior Manager of Communication Services, Racy J., Public Information Coordinator, GSO. The first two were also GSO. Jeff W., Group Services Coordinator, also GSO. And we have Nirka M., Web Coordinator for AA Grapevine. And we also have Julie J., who is here to support any extra questions that have to do with communication and other such things. So I welcome you all. I'd like to ask all of the panelists, please unmute yourselves, like all of you at the same time, unless there's big background noise, because that will make sure that you stay right at the top of our list. And I will turn the floor over to you now.
Well, my name's Jeff. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm the Group Services Coordinator, and I lost the lottery, so I'm the first one to go. Now, I do want to thank Carolyn for helping us get ready for this, and also to the organization committee. It's been an amazing day. I've learned so much. I can't wait to go out and get some VR equipment so I can try that. It sounded so awesome, and it's just been a great day so far, where I was able to learn a lot, as I have from this community for a long time. You know, I'm, as Lou was talking about, I'm one of the lurkers from our office that goes to the TIAA forum. And it's just so inspiring for me to see all the great thinking, the insights, the solutions that come forth, the open sharing. I mean, it really is an amazing community. And as Lou was documenting the growth of it, that's also remarkable. And that it continues to thrive and grow. And I also love that so many of people's, analysis of technology on the forum is very much grounded in the traditions, and they really, kind of have first things first. So one of the questions that Carolyn asked us more kind of overall was, how does technology impact our assignment, or how do we are we impacted by technology? And I would say one big overall thing is our transition to the ERP system, which many of you may be familiar with. Back in August of 2019, we completed this long-planned, we started this long-planned transition to the NetSuite Enterprise Resource System. And it was something that we needed to do because we were operating in silos, and we really needed the kind of integration that a NetSuite was going to provide for us. But it was very difficult, very challenging, as I know many of you are familiar with, because it's impacted just about everything we do. It certainly, from the beginning, impacted records. It impacted group numbers, because we had to have a whole new set of group numbers. NetSuite needed us to have 9-digit new numbers for groups. And, groups, that was a hurdle for them. Wait a minute, what about my old number that we're used to, the 6-digit number? What are you telling me about that? And, we tried to make it clear that they could still use their old legacy number for everything except online contributions. So we are still making it possible to use both of those group service numbers, but except for online contributions, where you need to use the 9-digit NetSuite number. But that's just one example of how many ways that that the NetSuite system impacted us in a way that caused delays, and it caused delays in getting service kits out and getting kits to GSRs and DCMs. It caused disruptions in some of our financial services as far as getting acknowledgments of contributions back, something we really would want to do, get those letters out to groups and areas that contributed, to be able to say thank you. And, just like everything we tried to do was a lot more complicated than maybe we counted on it doing. So that technology transition definitely impacted all of us at the office, and is still impacting us. But it's also starting to show bear fruit, because for one thing, when COVID hit, and talk about disruptions, we would never have been able to transition as quickly and easily or seamlessly as we did from in the office in mid-March to working remotely if we hadn't had the NetSuite system in place, and if we hadn't been as far along as we were with it. And if we didn't have a technology services department headed by Lorna that we have, who personally made sure that everyone was outfitted with the technology they needed to be able to do their assignment wherever they needed to do it, safely at home. They even came to people's apartments in New York sometimes to help them set up their system. So, we wouldn't have been able to function like we have been able to over the past 6 months if it wasn't for that investment in NetSuite. And likewise, the investment in NetSuite is starting to show with some new initiatives, like we were, Lorna will talk more about this, but we were just able to launch a new contributions module. We were just able to launch a radically new updated web store, which is really, it's a vast improvement. And we were able to do some user experience testing with intergroup central office managers and others to be able to, we hope, get it right. We know there will be improvements along the way, but the web store is another example of how NetSuite has helped us move forward in leaps and bounds. We still have work to do with records, and that's one of the things that I do in my assignment in group services is being part of the records department. And my portal is going to be worked on and launched in December. And again, Lorna will talk more about that as well. But ultimately, we think that this will be a much better tool than FNV ever was for registrars to be able to have a useful interface, and dialogue between our office's records and, the fellowships records, whether it's districts, areas. It's sort of apart from intergroups, but it does impact them as well. That's kind of another part of my assignment, is being the liaison with intergroup central offices. And one of the questions that Carolyn gave us was, how have we seen, for me personally, how have I seen intergroup central offices' role change because of COVID in the last 6 months? And it is covered to some degree in an article in Box 459 that came out recently about the resilience of our office kind of in this transition. And it's in that article, it talks about also the tremendous resilience of intergroup central offices and how they pivoted so quickly and dealt with the huge changes in just trying to be able to get meeting information to people who needed it. So, we are just, I was just awed by how hard everyone worked and tirelessly to be able to make sure that that information continued to be available, even as everything was changing. The New York Intergroup office, talk about change, they kind of undertook being able to provide Zoom accounts for groups in the New York area to try to help them with that transition, which was, has certainly set off a bunch of conversations about Tradition 4 and whether or not that was the right thing to do. But at the time, it enabled groups to get online for meetings quickly. And then New York Intergroup and many other intergroup offices continued to put out guides to being online meetings, the different platforms that you could choose from. They also put out guidelines on passing the digital basket, as Chris was talking about earlier. The Atlanta Intergroup, also the Marin Intergroup, has had several great guides. They kind of started with the digital, passing the digital basket, a year and a half, 2 years ago or more. But so intergroups have really taken a great leadership role in helping inform the fellowship about some of these things they need to know to get online and be able to go to meetings, and deal with the different types of meetings, which people have also talked about here, strictly online, or a face-to-face group that went online for a while and now maybe returning to face-to-face, but maybe continuing with just online, or if they're setting up, as Ginger talked about, parallel meetings, which, is sort of a different situation, or hybrid. And one of the things that I loved about the TIA forum was how much great sharing there was about that transition to how do you get a hybrid meeting going? What equipment do you need? What is your group doing about that? So I, at Group Services, did receive a lot of questions from groups about, like, what do we do about starting a hybrid meeting, or what are the options? And I was able to refer a lot of them to the TIA forum, where there was great sharing starting in May about what groups were doing, from the simplest, like we got a box of disposable gloves and we pass around a phone, to some of the other things people have been talking about today, a PA system, a monitor, Bluetooth, all of these solutions that, there was just a lot of ingenuity, AA members at their best that we got to see. I guess I'm just about out of time here, but one of the things that we know is an outstanding issue that we have ahead of us is trying to figure out how online groups can participate in the general service structure, because as many of you know, it's very geographically oriented at this point. And in the past, we've treated online groups as kind of in the international category, according to a conference action from 2011 that said that's how we're supposed to list online meetings. But more and more online meetings and groups are wanting to participate in general service, and it's bubbling up. It's being talked about in districts and in areas, and there are no doubt some technology solutions that are going to make this possible, because that's what we all want, is full participation in general service. So we just have to figure out a way of how this listing system is going to evolve. And we're looking to the fellowship for that, and ultimately probably ideas that will go to the General Service Conference in 2015. And that's all from me, but I look forward to your questions and to my colleagues sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Hi, Jeff. I'll say hi, and I'm going to jump in. Did you actually set a 10-minute timer for yourself? I'm so impressed.
I did. That's the extent of my technological capability.
So somebody just give me the hi sign that I've been talking for too long. So my name is Lorna. I'm the Director of Technology Services for GSO, and am delighted to be here speaking with you today. I will apologize in advance for any dog chaos that ensues. I am at my sister's lake house that she's renting. We arrived about 10 minutes before this call started, and there's 4 dogs. So I thought I'd start with just a little bit about my background. I come from Accenture. I was there for 18 years. I was an associate partner. I moved from Accenture to GE, where I was the vice president of technology in the old GE Money organization. So my background is big projects, big programs, ERP, international programs, running teams across multiple countries, things like that. I joined as a consultant in the middle of the fall on the ERP project to start kind of shaping up phase 2, or what we thought was going to be phase 2 at the time. As well as driving the RFI process that then turned into the vendor selection process for the ERP project, because at that time the decision had been made to replace the original vendor. I stepped into the role of interim Director of Technology Services in the beginning of December, and was officially hired into the role in the February timeframe. So that kind of frames up, my timing and experience joining the ERP project. I was posed a couple questions. The first one being around, they know that I kicked off a strategy, a technology strategy when I first got here. Sorry, the barking has started. So to tell you a little bit about the strategy and why I saw the need for it. So when I got here, it was very unclear to me, and I think to other people, the role of technology services within GSO, as well as how that role could change based on my skill set and the background that I brought to the organization. So it focused an awful lot on how can we come up with a unified toolbox so that we can simplify our environment, so we can be more efficient, and look for opportunities to leverage tools across different departments in the organization. We also focus the strategy on governance. So coming up with a rhythm of meetings, every project, every technology investment, there's got to be a business case for it. There's a comprehensive budget that doesn't just include the technology investment, but has a whole project plan around it that also includes the people in the process side of technology initiatives. We took a look at the AA.org project, because by the time I stepped into it, the design was pretty much done. Clement and Lois had done a great job of driving the design forward. We needed a project plan that included all the work that the business, the content, the people side of it internally within GSO. So we shored up the technology direction and confirmed the technology direction that had come out of the design project, and then move forward with a project planning initiative. And Clement's going to talk, some more around that. From an ERP perspective, obviously there's been a tremendous amount of focus on stabilizing the platform and addressing, people and process issues, also addressing some of the technology issues with the implementation. So We brought in RSM as our subsequent vendor. They have extremely deep NetSuite skills. They're NetSuite's, provider, partner of the year for, X number of years, 7 years running, something like that. So they have very, excuse me for 1 second. They have very, very strong, deep understanding of NetSuite itself. So we did a rapid assessment with them and then teed up multiple work streams. This week, we went live with the new web store. We're delighted with it. We also went live with the new contributions module that is fully integrated from a PayPal perspective. It provides more PCI compliance than the initial solution that we had in place. And both of those are leveraging more of NetSuite's native functionality and native capabilities, so that we're positioning ourselves to, leverage enhancements and changes and version upgrades, et cetera, coming in the future. There was obviously a tremendous amount of focus on my portal. I know that that's a very sore point out with the area registrars. One of the challenges of stepping in when I stepped in is that you obviously inherit what you inherit. And that included the data model that was in place with the initial ERP implementation. And in order to produce the reports and the data in a way that supported the area registrars, even accessing the information that they need to help us and we need to communicate back and forth, we had to make a couple minor changes to the data model, but we needed to do it in a way that we didn't then upset the apple cart with all the functionality that was already up and running. So all of this is a process. It all takes time, unfortunately. I knew that it was going to take a while to get to the point of building the True My portal. So the interim approach we took was to build interim reports that were distributed first at the end of July, and they're now going to go out on a weekly basis. We kicked off a task force because I felt that we ought to have participation from the area registrars in the work that we were doing. So we have a task force that includes 2 areas, and we're going to expand that to someone from each region, I'm hoping. There's a survey that's going to be sent out, not this week, but next week, asking for input. What are your top 3 to 5 things that we can provide in my portal that would, make your life easier, would make communicating with us better. And our delivery time frame is, the middle of December. It may slip to the end of December, but we're very, very focused on, delivering this calendar year. And it's an extremely high visibility, very important project within GSO. And then the last piece of a question that I was asked was, how do I see, the role of the registrars changing? And I think, as a result of the technology changes, and I guess, the role is as the role is described in the service manual. I don't see the role changing, but we all know that the duties change from area to area already. So, as we continue to figure out, as I call it, the art of the possible with my portal, there may be some changes in duties, but that's all work that's still to come. And that, I don't know if I went over or if I made up for Jeff's extra minute or 2, but I think I've answered the questions, and I look forward to additional ones. So I think, Clement, you're next.
I think it's Racy.
Racy's next, sorry.
No problem.
Hi everyone, my name is Racy Joseph. I am an alcoholic, a GSO staff member who is currently on the public information assignment. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for this wonderful invitation. I have never been to NAATW, and it's and today, I guess, is one of the, it speaks for itself. We are connected in ways that a year ago, you know, we would have had to receive an invite or travel in a certain way. And in some ways, more and more, we are seeing how being physically distanced is not as much as a hindrance as it might have been even a year ago. The reason I said that I'm on the PI assignment is that people might not know that GSO staff rotate every 2, sometimes 3 years, and this is the 3rd assignment that I've been on at GSO. And so while I don't necessarily see the public information assignment to be necessarily a digital specialist or expert, nor is any public information committee expected to do that. In keeping with the same 1956 that was then adapted in 2002, the movement-wide public information policy, and I'll just say in a nutshell, I'm not going to read the whole, in all public relationships, AA's sole objective is to help still suffering alcoholics. It goes on to talk about ever mindful of anonymity, and if you'd like to read that, it is in the public information workbook. But really, we are in a place, and maybe many pockets of the world are, you know, maybe always a few steps ahead of us. We move slowly and thoughtfully in Alcoholics Anonymous, but we want to be on the platforms in which people search for a drinking problem. I got sober where you literally would have, I made payphone calls, you know, we were still taping a quarter to the inside of a meeting list and so forth. And certainly the whole landscape has changed. I know that there were some questions that had to do with what has it looked like since we've been so physically distanced in the time of COVID. And so I thought I'd just give you a little what it was like at GSO. In late March, we thought we were gonna be working from home maybe for a couple weeks, and I'm still working from home along with the rest of my colleagues. And when COVID-19 hit, the PI desk was inundated with media attention. We didn't even have to do a digital professional distribution of a press release because the press were coming to us. That being said, I know the press were coming to your local committees, intergroups, central offices. And so this is a time in which I was ever so grateful for when there was local media contacting us, that there was a PI committee that could share their experience locally and be a resource. I tried to field some of the more national publications that came to us. And really, you know, they wanted to know how are alcoholics staying sober? And so we had to also clarify that AA is not a place, and that this moment, that it had really been more of an adjustment. Oh, am I going in and out? Am I back?
A little bit. If it happens again, Racy, I'll just get you to turn off your video, but you're back for now. You're back.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
So again, hi, my name is Racy. I am an alcoholic, and or is it just?
You don't have to start from the beginning, Racy.
Okay.
All right.
And so that was something to also quell some of the panic that was coming to us in the media. Not long after many people saw stories in the media regarding what are alcoholics going to do if AA meetings can't meet in person, many of you are familiar what followed. We got a lot of press attention. we were suddenly in the public a lot. And sometimes the communication was not always ideal that was being provided to the media. And sometimes there were really beautiful articles being done. But then came the bombers, then came the trolls to meetings. And it was wonderful from the office where staff members were able to collect sharing of how groups were stepping up, creating their own guidelines on their platforms. And because of local efforts and each group looking at the traditions, but also wanting to keep platforms available, then slowly it was as if the groups took care of it, and what we're hearing from groups is a lot of that interference has lessened greatly. Right now, I know that there are questions about short content video and a plan that was brought to the Conference Committee on Public Information to create more short content video. We are excited to move in that direction. At this time, current budgetary concerns may be that won't start until early 2021, but we are definitely in the initial plannings of that. You know, and something that I'd also like to say that, you know, we can really, I think everybody is on board that the way people receive information. I mean, today, if you're creating a pamphlet, you have to think of it, does it fit 3 categories? Is it simply print? Is it print video? Is it print video audio? These are just conversations in which you can never look at any literature again the way you develop it and who the audience for is. But at the same time, there are conversations of when we say something in video, what reads in a pamphlet might not be verbatim what could be appropriate for video. It might look very formal. I mean, it was at the point that seeing in a message to teenagers that it had the word "thus" in it. I don't know many teenagers that use the word "thus." And so when we were trying to create a draft storyboard of if we move this into a textable short content video, we have to really make the language relevant to the audience because it may be at times too formal. I'm not talking about changing anything in the big book or the 12 and 12. I'm talking about what the advisory action talked about in 2019 to develop a plan of something that works pamphlet to video. I don't want to take up too much time. I probably talked too much. I just want to say that there is a proposed agenda item that is circling back next year in 2021. And in the meantime, the Conference Committee on Public Information said that before we explore creating a new anonymity piece, either digital, pamphlet, whatever it turns out to be, whatever the format is, that we need more sharing from the fellowship as far as what is anonymity on the internet. I mean, is being on a Zoom platform or a Google Hangouts platform full name and anonymity break? Is putting up a coin on Facebook an anonymity break? Is saying that you are an AA member in an email an anonymity break? Now, while some of these people might have very finite answers, and I know that everybody's bubbles are going as I'm talking of what seems obvious to them and or not, really our literature has not fully communicated all the nuance of the internet platform and how we are there to carry the message while still adhering to anonymity traditions. And not just anonymity traditions. Where is that fine line of having a life out of Alcoholics Anonymous, but also adhering as a member of AA to certain principles? always being reminded that the internet, digital platforms may be somebody's first and last impression of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I'm going to end at this time. There's a lot happening on the PI desk. A comprehensive media plan is being developed, like one that hasn't been seen in a few years, on a much more comprehensive level, to not have siloed projects, but to really look in the autonomy of the assignments, but how everything can work together in keeping with a connectiveness, but a relevancy that maybe will add more clarity. So thank you so much for having me. And I've dropped some links in the chat that might be helpful on aa.org. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Racy. Caroline, I don't know if you're going to introduce me or do I introduce myself?
Well, I would be happy to introduce you. We have Clement, who is the Senior Manager of Communication Services, and he's got in his hand a few questions that we gave him before the presentation.
And thank you so much. I have so many friends at NAATW. I want to try to start naming everybody, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the hard work that you put in. And thank you. And thank you to all of my colleagues that came before. Excellent job as always. I always hate to have to follow them, but here we go. This is one of our newest departments, created in November of 2019. The department morphed from the previous communication services staff assignment, which began in 2015. This is my 4th visit to NAATW, and I'm grateful for the information, the criticism, and the support I've gained in each visit. I'd also like to thank the committee again and all those responsible for the programming of the workshop and for allowing the GSO and Grapevine teams the opportunity to share some of the projects and technology evolving at your General Service Office and the processes incorporated to implement that technology. This evening, I'll touch on the roles we play in the Communication Services Department. And I'm as old school as you can get because I have a written presentation. My colleagues and I will address questions that you have submitted to each one of us. This is the first question. How do you interface with technology in your role? It is my experience that although technology plays a crucial role in enhancing the effectiveness of carrying the message to the AA Fellowship, at times it can appear to be at odds with our principles. In our fellowship, we have traditionally stressed prudence, group conscience, and measured action, while certain technologies seem to value speed to the end user and a fix as we go perspective. My hope is that we find a middle ground that will be swift and nimble enough to deliver technologies before their expiration date and vetted enough to be grounded within our 36 principles. That being said, as Senior Manager of the Communication Services Department, my role is one of oversight with limited hands-on technology. I collaborate on planning, development, day-to-day management of the current website, the new website, the meeting guide app, and the YouTube channel. I coordinate with the publishing and Grapevine on media content production and selected written communications. I work with all internal agencies, departments, and all 3 boards. I oversee aspects of communication distribution within the fellowship. I chair the website committee and report out to the Technologies Communication Services Committee on the AAWS board. The second question, what do you hope to contribute to the specific topic of the virtual event? And this was kind of tricky to me. I'd like to contribute some ideas from a different perspective. At this NAATW gathering, I hope to emphasize the continued merging of our principles and technology. There is no question about the positive impact and effectiveness of technology on the AA movement. But how is this technology to be applied? How do we continue to honor the legal privacy and the sacred anonymity of our fellowship? Let's look at new and inventive ways to communicate. How can we streamline our service structure and reach those who have not yet been reached? Where is the racial, age, gender, and class diversity in our movement? How can technology impact these shortcomings? Like you, I don't have answers to all these questions, but I'd like to share how these issues are addressed at your General Service Conference. Currently, I serve as the chair of the website committee. At GSO, any new asset that is added to AA.org is brought to the website committee for discussion and vote. My role on the website committee is collaborating on the maintenance, development, and updating of AA.org and our YouTube channel. Both fall under the oversight of the website committee. I handle all member relations and feedback, preparation, development, and research of agenda and background for the quarterly website committee meetings. The website committee sends a report out and forwards concerns to the TCS committee. If an agenda item is deemed substantial, it is forwarded to the TCS committee for guidance and a vote. I report out to the Technology Communication Services Committee on the AWS board 10 times a year. The basic scope of this committee is looking to the latest innovations in technology and considering a strategy for carrying the message through information technology. We prepare, develop, research items to inform the agenda and background for these committee meetings. We report quarterly on website activities and analytics. This report is shared with the trustees' Public Information Committee, of which Racy is the secretary. Currently, we are implementing, reporting, and evaluating the General Service Conference advisory actions. These advisory actions include SEO tagging and Google Ads, which Julie will address as soon as I finish. I wanted to provide an overview to allow you to see the process for moving technology through your General Service Office. Literally, this is moving at the speed of AA. And I went through all that just to say, we can't make a decision and then act on it immediately, or we can't hear a wonderful suggestion from the fellowship and without vetting, without the process going through our various committee structures, implement it. And I think that's a very important thing to understand. The third question, we understand the website may have been put on hold. That seems to indicate that it isn't a critical project. Can you tell us more about that? The first GSO website was created, to the best of my knowledge, in 1996. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure Julie will correct me. Since that time, I think this is the 6th iteration of the site. The AA.org website is the most important outwardly facing communication tool that GSO has. With the onboarding of our new Technology Services Department, gaps in our previous content plan and website development were revealed, which caused a necessary pause as we regroup to develop a strategy to address these issues. A new project plan and a new product manager are in the process of being brought on board. Although the plan is to begin the development phase of the website in 2021 as a result of financial considerations, planning, content development, and additional design components for the new website continue in 2020. The intention is to be ready next year for the next steps. Although the office is being physically prudent in all aspects, the work on the new website remains a high priority. The fourth question, and thank you for this question. We completed the second sprint of the meeting guide development in the spring of 2019. The vendor announced, congratulations, you are now an app company. I must say this caught me totally off guard and posed some of the questions I asked earlier. Are we built to race to the market ahead of other competitors? How do we remain nimble in a web of working groups and committees bound by a fixed calendar and 80 years of group conscience? Can we address the challenges that question our ability to keep the technology relevant to our members? Meeting Guide app has been forced to address all these issues. The app was growing in usage and popularity until the crisis in early spring. In January, the number of unique visitors to Meeting Guide was 259,714. By March, it had dropped to 250,791. By April, 100,037,532. And with a slight uptick in June, 145,063 unique visitors. We all know what happened in March. I asked the developer of the Meeting Guide for his perspective on this question, and this is a portion of his remarks. I would just be honest and say the future of the Meeting Guide app is very uncertain. We have been limping along since the pandemic began. We have tried so far largely failed to adapt the shifting demands of the program, unquote. This seems a rather dark picture for Meeting Guide, but there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. This week, the app working group met with representatives of the AA Online Intergroup to discuss developing ways to add some of their data to the Meeting Guide app and to include natively online meetings. Next week, our Technology Services Director, Lorna, will continue to review a statement of work with an outside vendor to maintain and develop the app. In weeks to come, the plan is to hire a product manager that can guide all of GSO's digital properties, including the website, Meeting Guide app, and the web store. Hopefully, this added resource will provide Meeting Guide and our other digital properties the attention and skill sets that they need. And the fifth and final question was, we have a process that allows groups and members to opt in to information mailing list. And in order to answer that question, I would actually need more information. So feel free to email me, text me, put a message in the chat, and I will do my best to try to respond. My email is comservices@aa.org. And with that, I will turn it over to Julie Gonzalez.
Thank you, Clement. So hi, everybody. My name is Julie, and I am not a member, so don't worry about Clement having used my last name. So I have worked with Clement very closely for the past few years. I am the communications digital analyst at GSO, and my primary function is web analytics and SEO improvement strategy. I also am part of planning and maintenance for most of our digital properties at this point. So I'm very heavily involved in a lot of our technology, even though I'm not really much of a technologist, but I have learned quite a lot about analytics over the 9 years that I've been at GSO. Just like Clement, I also have my information written down so that I don't miss anything. I was brought in so that I could answer a very specific question that was asked. So someone wanted to know about the advisory action that was passed in 2019 about tagging of all videos. So there was one passed in 2019 and one passed in 2020. And the question was SEO tagging of videos, and really there's two parts to this. So the 2020 action related only to adjusting the video titles for search engine optimization. The main goal of this effort is to give context to the content of each video. For example, Doors was the former name of one of our PSAs, and it's now titled Sobriety in AA, Opening Doors to a Life Without Drinking. The former title Doors could have been about home improvement or a Scooby-Doo chase. The new title gives context to search engines to determine if it's the correct result for a given search. It also gives users better information about the content of the video so that they can determine if it's something they want to watch. So really SEO, the name of the game is context. The other piece of this question included tagging. or attaching relevant keywords, which has similar intentions. It's not generally visible to the user, but it gives the search engine context for lookup. GSO is currently following an SEO improvement strategy that focuses on organic search for both on-site and off-site, so external search engines, by updating item naming, descriptions, and keywords for our assets, for our web properties, so that there can be more context. Phase 1 involves assigning general keywords based on our literature, research, and knowledge of frequently asked questions. And phase 2 will involve revision and adjustment after we collect some search analytics to see what the actual terms are that are being entered into the search boxes and make sure that we have everything correct. I can share our written plan for anybody that might like to see it, and I can also share the phase 1 keywords in English, Spanish, and French that we've worked on so far. Like I said, that's a starting point to get us past the no metadata or tagging keywords that we started with. So it is a long process and it's going to take a while, but we've started on the road. How local entities choose to apply any of those types of improvements would vary on the type of platform that they're using and their intention with how they want things to be found. So that's all I have for you today. I came in to answer one question, and if anybody has questions about that kind of stuff, I can be reached at GSO. New Yorker?
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody, for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. Last year, I attended the workshop in person in Kentucky, and it was such a great experience for me. So today I would like first to share my screen to do my introduction. Let me check, okay, yes, I'm able to do so. So I'm gonna turn off my video just in case my internet connection gets slow. So my name is Niurka Melendez. I'm not a member either. I'm the web coordinator employee for AA Grapevine and Lavinia website. So everything started when I started to work with AAGV in May 2017 as a freelance, basically supporting and managing all the content for their both websites. In that moment, when I started to work for GV, they had their platforms on Drupal 6. Also, I took care of, and I'm still, to be honest, taking care of the e-communication they have and also coordinating all the web vendors. Then in April 2019, I became a full-time employee, and they just remarked my daily duties as a freelance, plus the projects that they had in that moment, 2019, at the end of 2018, the project for the upgrading of the website. So basically my responsibility, to just summarize everything I do, is basically the operation to keep the good operation for both websites at AA Grapevine Inc. So also part of the responsibility I have under my role is keep all the communication that you might receive in your emails, meaning basically the daily quote, the newsletter, and all the communications we do every week. For in the case of the Grapevine Web Exclusive, every month, in the case for the GV News, and every other month for the GV and your group. Beside that, I also take care of Lavinia Daily Quote. Since September 1st, Lavinia, I can say that, from weekly quote to daily quote. So I'm in charge of keep an eye on the vendors who does the daily quote for GV and nowadays the daily quote for Lavinia, to keep everything smoothly and running as intended. Also, any kind of special announcements, including when we did the free access for all our content during the pandemic in March till May, if I remember well. So I also are in charge of do these duties and tax. and also keep updating all the lists on the platform that we use to send out all these blast communication. So I got also, as my colleague said before, some of the questions that you send us in advance. So mainly asking for the new features that, in this case, AA Grapevine new website Drupal 8 has. So I basically, beside the new design that you might see and the difference that you might notice when we launched the new website in January 31st, beside that, we can say now that for AA Grapevine in website, we have a secure platform because we upgraded the version of the Drupal that we used before, Drupal 6 to Drupal 8. We did a really good jump, and that makes our website secure. So we don't have anymore that really not good sign that we used to see that warns our end users saying that our website weren't secure. Nowadays, our website is more secure. Beside that, we also have a responsive website. I'm talking about the GV website that is now live and up on the internet. And let's talk about a little bit about what we are working on right now, which is basically Lavinia. Lavinia website is going to be launched, the new website, hopefully in October. And I decided to place these pictures just to make sure once you will see the new design that Lavinia is gonna have, it's gonna make you feel the difference and also the improvement that we are doing for this website. So we are working now. When I say we, it's because we have developers, vendors. So basically, as I said before, my main role is to keep everything working smoothly, but also keeping the content updates. So we, the vendor in Canada, North Studio, and also AA Grapevine, and there are times that Lois is there also giving us their advices. So we are working on the Lavinia website project. Basically, I took some screenshot at how it's gonna look our new website in few weeks from now. And yes, as you can see, it's pretty much the same look that we have right now for GV, but adjusting not just the language, but also the necessities that for this website we have to be really aware about. Meaning that we don't have the same menu items that we do have for GV, because Lavinia members are another, we cannot treat this website as is only about the language, but just adjusting about what we had done so far with several internal discussions with Lavinia team, knowing a little bit more about the Hispanics member, right? So the new feature for this website project, because there is another question that you sent us in advance regarding this Lavinia project, they are gonna have a new brand archive page. Before they didn't at all. So I'm gonna show you a little bit about that in seconds. And also not just the new archive for Lavinia, but the sobriety calculator, they didn't have it, this kind of feature before, and the way that we ask members, hopefully in 2-3 weeks from now, to subscribe the web forms. Everything is now really renovated, even more intuitive for end users to navigate and put their content. So I open, as you can see here, several tabs in order to show you how is currently our Lavinia website running on Drupal 6 platform, and how it's gonna look hopefully in October this year. The new feature that we can feel proud of that we are launching for Lavinia members is about the calendar. This is the current calendar. This is the way the Lavinia team works to inform their members what is going to be on regarding their events and activities. From October moving forward, this is the way they are going to have available their calendar, right? The same for resources. So I think I open it. So yes, in here. So sorry, guys. Too many tabs open. So nowadays, if we are a rep or a member who are looking for any kind of information, including postcards, sorry, or maybe La Viña Hoy, which is basically the La Viña News or La Viña Today, you have to go to, of course, to aalaviña.org, but navigate the site this way and then download the document, right? From October, hopefully moving forward, this is the way we are gonna present to the members and reps the new information, again, available to just print or download. So there is the sobriety calculator, as you can see in here. There is nothing related to that before, so now members for La Viña are going to be able to calculate and even download their sobriety card if they feel like. So I also, just in case, because I got a question regarding, let me check my notes, regarding how to find an article, a specific article written by a special group. So I opened this tab to show you how they can do it. It's better if you know the name of the article, because you now can search by title, topic, author name, or whatever other keyword you feel might match your search. Or if you know the year or the topics related to that, that could be another option that you can use using, again, our new and current archive page. So in one of the conversations that we have been having during this year, and we put on hold because of the La Viña project, is about improving even more the archive, our current archive page, meaning that not just having this, that we should, what I said before, it is right now available, that you can just play around and narrow your search, but also improving by making it or mirror a little bit the way we are used to when we use Google, for instance, right? So we put that project on hold because of La Viña, but just to let you know that we are working on improving even more the archive page, of course, for both La Viña and GV. But just to remind you, this is like a putting contracts, if I can say that. This is the way we had our archive till January 29, may I say? And it was quite, I know, because I got plenty of email, plenty of input and feedback since I started with you in 2017, knowing that it was really hard to find articles or even audios on our Drupal 6 website. And nowadays it's at least more intuitive, as I said before, and the improve is there, and we are looking forward to even improving more our website, but just, I mean, the archive search engine, but just to let you know, and I hope this answer some of the questions that you sent regarding the archive for the AA Grapevine. So I don't want to take any more time, just to let you know that I'm here really open and flexible to any question that you might have for me. Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic, you guys. So I'll give you a clap, even though everyone else is clapping, but you can only hear me. Thank you so much for coming. We do have a collection of questions, and we have 10 minutes. So what I'd like to do is I'll give you each a question, and whatever we can't answer, as I've been saying, I'm going to make sure they get into the notes, and then I'll ask you guys if you could give us some feedback on some of the other questions that we don't get to. So we should probably roll back to Jeff, who started us off, and there is a question. Sorry, I'm scrolling. You guys fooled me with your order. I didn't lay them out in the form in the same order. Jeff, do you think it's time for GSO to rethink its application of group autonomy, tradition 4, in the context of data and technology? Oh, we'll have to unmute you.
That's a great question with definitely with deep implications. Honestly, I would have to think more about that because it has served, group autonomy in general has served us for a long time. And we don't want to restrict the freedom of AA members and AA groups. You know, Bill W. was pretty open about the freedom of groups to the point where they didn't have to believe in anything. They could say, we hate AA. There was, you know, but in terms of information and sharing, Lois was bringing this up, and I thought it was a great thought that maybe there needs to be more sharing of information between, you know, all of the AA entities so that we can all do a better job of keeping track of helping people find meetings. That's the bottom line, and making it easier to connect people with meetings. So I will definitely ponder that question more. There was also something I was supposed to get to in my time and I didn't. Just a quick update about regional forums. It's not my assignment, but I did want to mention that the regional forums were, the live version was canceled, but there will be virtual regional forums starting in 2021. And also for 2020, there will be kind of a different approach in a way, something called, well, it just turned out to be called USCANs because it's US and Canada. And we're doing 2 events. One is kind of for the Western swath of Canada and the US to kind of be in harmony with time zones. And the other is for the Eastern swath, US and Canada. They're gonna be probably like a noon to 8 p.m. kind of day. And obviously a little more presentational than regional forums are because of the difficulty of interacting in a virtual forum. But as much as possible, we're gonna make them interactive and bring as many areas and regions as possible into that planning and execution. So the USCANs, I think, will be December 5th and December 19th. They will be open like all regional forums for just, you know, just register and attend.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you for, you know, taking the extra question before I asked it, because that was on my list of something to ask. So the next question is for Lorna. Lorna, will Facebook use be reevaluated?
So interesting. I actually think that's a business question rather than a technology question. I think my take on technology is to support the direction of the business and the business priorities. It's not to drive the business decisions based on a platform or a medium or anything like that. So I'm not sure that I'm the one to answer that question, being that I'm the Director of Technology Services.
Agreed. I wonder if I might punt that question to Racy, Public Information. I apologize. I was reading them as they were targeted.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right.
Hi, Racy Joseph, Public Information Coordinator. Well, this topic has been discussed in the past by the General Service Conference, certainly by local areas. It has been explored in the past by the Trustees Information Committee. If you look at the history of all the committee considerations on PI, certainly there's always a look to, let's explore social media. A couple years back, Twitter was the conversation. If you think that it would be a good idea to be on Facebook, or should I say revisit the topic of Facebook, or revisit the topic of Twitter, or explore Instagram, start talking about it locally and talk with your areas. And certainly on some level it's being discussed by the trustees on public information, but it always is wonderful when those conversations either begin or are revisited by local areas and brought to us.
Thank you, Racy. Yeah, I have a question for Clement. The current communication structure in AA relies on communications to come from GSO through the delegate structure and eventually expected to make its way to the individual meetings. Is there a way that we could expedite and change the structure maybe to get information straight to the individual meetings?
Well, really the essence of the question is what type of information? Because Friday, Lorna and I worked very hard to get some information out, which was distributed to the board, to the conference, to the IGCOs, and always, or most of the time, it'll find its way to AA.org, which makes it available to any AA member that comes to the website.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's the answer to your question, but that's surely how, the process that we use to disseminate information.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just scrolling. There's an interesting question to Julie. How can we make it easy for newcomers to easily verify if a website is actually AA and not a recovery house posing as AA? The question is longer, but for the essence of time, I hope that is clear.
I can give a very short answer to that. And if you're talking about once somebody gets onto the website, it's how we present ourselves on the website and what language we use. If you're talking about within search results, it's kind of difficult at the moment because a lot of recovery houses, they'll go onto our websites and use the same information that we use. So it's a tricky question because any business or any group of people that creates a website, somebody wants to have the same audience, they'll use the same information. So part of the SEO improvement stuff that we've been doing is based around our core information. So that's information that could be shared with areas and intergroups and districts so that we all have the same information, but there is no guarantee that the treatment houses won't come into our websites, open up, the Google look to take a look at the back end of our websites and take it. So making sure that we are accurate in our presentations on the websites and in our presentations and communications is really the only way to show people who we are on our platforms.
Okay, and I think it lends itself well to, the general conversations around SEO and tagging and keywords, because one of the examples in the question is someone was a newcomer looking for an AA organization, real AA in, let's say, Westchester, but I guess they didn't have it in the keyword because they were really wanting to find sepia, and how would they have known the acronym? So they ended up duped and following down the wrong road. So thank you for the answer to that question. There was a question for Nurka. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Why is Lavinia content different than Grapevine?
Yes, you say it right, New York, like New York, New York.
New York.
Yes, different because they are different products. Even though we are talking about the same sister organization, which is AA Grapevine Inc., Lavinia is a different product because it's offered to the Hispanic members. So for instance, the current website, they are working on a project to start putting audios for their articles, stories. So I think that might be available by the end of the year, maybe November, December this year. And if you compare that single feature that, for instance, GV has, since they had their website in 2010, so all the articles for GV has their relative audio, right? Lavinia doesn't have that. even nowadays, they don't have that. So the way even the members, their members share their stories is totally different the way I'm used to, even though I'm a Hispanic person. I can see the difference when managing the website. So for instance, we get plenty of articles, even audio, photos that members from GV are so willing to share through our website. For La Viña, rather than getting all that information through the website, they do prefer to do it by phone or even by mail. So there are different ways that we have to treat their members. So that's the way they customize, whether adjusting all this stuff to the way the Hispanic members, of course, I know all of this because as I said before, even to build the site map for La Viña, even though we had almost everything done when we started the project for GV, we still adjusted the items for the menu because they don't have that plenty information as La Viña does. But again, it's a way, I'm guessing, just like inferring based on all the discussion I've been having with La Viña team. So the way their members likes to even share the information is totally different. So when we started the project for La Viña, and this is something that I would like to add for might not be related to the question, but it's important, I guess, for me to add it to this answer, is the way even when we started the conversation with North Studio, which is our developer vendor in Canada. So I told them there is nothing to do with just translation. This is totally different product, even though it's a magazine, a print magazine that is not monthly, but every other month. That's another thing that we have to keep in mind. This different. So it's not just translate all the item menus that we do for GV. So having it in Spanish for La Viña, no, it's different treatment, different ways to present the information, because it's the way, as far as I'm learning with La Viña team, as I said before, it's the way the Hispanic members, it's like the behavior that they have been measuring all this year for their members. Yes, basically because of that.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank everyone who came, and I would just like to reiterate that questions that we could not get to, I would appreciate, I'll share them with you guys on the crowdsourced document, and maybe I'll just ask you to give us a few bullet point thoughts on some of those questions that we could not get to. I appreciate the thoroughness. I appreciate that you let us kind of frame what we wanted you to talk about a little bit, and your transparency and just your willingness and your smiling faces. Thank you very, very much. I would like to, at this point, hand over a bit of a closing to our chair.